Welcome back to the channel, the first video of 2026. Today I have with me the Zoom64, so let's get started. There's a lot to cover with this. So Zoom64 actually has two different versions. We have the standard barebone kit, which means you'll get your PCB, your case, and everything you would need to build in this barebone kit. The second version is a case kit, so it will basically fit any 60% PCB as long as you use the plate that they give with this case kit. So to start with, obviously it has to be the case, because the case itself is what stays the same between these two versions, and it's basically the most important thing. We have a bunch of different color options, some acrylic case options, and most importantly, we have three really cool special edition cases. The ones I have with me are the Glacier Star Trail and Lilac Veil, and I have to say, it looks beautiful. When they first sent me the renders to pick a case color, I was a little worried that it might look a little tacky in real life, because if you're doing patterns on an aluminum finish, it usually comes off a little childish. But with this, it actually came out really clean, and at certain angles where the light kind of catches on to the pattern, it actually pops out really strongly. Aside from that, the main design concept or idea that they really wanted to achieve was having a knob on a 60% keyboard. I do feel like the knob hype has kind of died down. It took them a little too long to achieve this, but we do have a knob on our 60% keyboard, and it does look really clean. So we have four different configurations that we'll be doing today. First of all, the standard Zoom64 build. Number 2, a Wooting Zoom64 build. Number 3, a Flux 60 Holy 60 build. And lastly, a Flux 60 Zoom64 build. Sounds confusing, but you understand. So let's begin the standard build. Our PCB is pretty standard except for the layout. The layout itself, I'll show you guys how it looks with the keycaps on. It's easier for you guys to catch on what I'm talking about. So we're gonna use our plate foam and PCB foam that was provided in our foam kit with the polycarbonate plate. For switches, we'll be using the HMX Hyacinth switches, and our PCB sandwich is basically done. Onto the mounting, we have two different options, but we'll be using the silica gel mount throughout the whole video because it makes it easier. Now for keycaps, I did use GMK Serenity, but I do want to point out about the layout. For our left shift, we're looking at a 1.75U, and on our right cluster, we have a bunch of 1Us. So if you are planning to build in the Zoom64, make sure you do have keycaps that support this layout. Now, our second build is pretty simple. It's basically just chucking a Wooting into our Zoom64 case. How does that work? Because this doesn't have tray mount holes. So the main thing that comes with the case kit is a separate plate. The main difference between the plate that they are providing is that it's able to support the silica gel mount, which will then in turn allow you to mount it onto the Zoom64. The other thing provided in the case kit is a USB-C kind of a daughter board connector. So as you can see, the case itself has our USB-C port in the middle. And if you own a Wooting, you know that the USB-C port is towards the left. But with this USB-C daughter board, you can basically just plug it into the USB-C port in the 60% PCB and connect it via the ribbon cable, which would then in turn work with our USB-C port in the case. So yeah, that is the second build. We're gonna move on to build number 3. So alongside Zoom64, they are also releasing their own 60% Hall effect PCB. They're calling it the Flux 60. By default, the Flux 60 does come pre-assembled with the Flux Ocean Whisper switches. It's basically a pre-built module that you can chuck into any 60% tray mount case. We have an aluminum plate, we have the cork dampening, we have the switches already pre-installed. All you literally have to do is take the PCB, put it in the case, and screw it in. That's basically what they're offering. I do want to say the solder mask with the engravings on the Flux 60 does look really good. We have this pattern of switches that kind of runs through the whole PCB. I know ultimately you won't be able to see it when your keyboard's fully built, but it's just a cool little thing. So the Flux 60 as it is, I threw it into the Holy 60, one of my favorite cases when it comes to 60% because of how good it looks, and just ran it with the standard keycap set. Now the final build will be the Flux 60 with the Zoom64 case. I think they did kind of plan it to be put together, so we need to try that out. And personally, I didn't really enjoy the Ocean Whisper switches, so I'll be using the Owlab TI switches. The gaming specs itself for the Flux 60 is exactly what we would expect. It has 8000 Hz polling rate with a 0.08 millisecond latency, rapid trigger accuracy up to 0.001mm, and all the usual HE stuff, which I'll cover when I'm showing the software. Now, before the sound test, I want to talk a little bit more about the building experience. The case itself has the ball catch system, so building in it was really simple. I mean, if you want to change out the PCB between a 60% tray mount and this, all you have to do is change out the plate. So everything else kind of just plops in there, and then we go bang. So without further ado, here are the sound tests. Alright, so a few things I want to cover before we end the video. The first thing is the software for the Flux 60. We have a web-based software, so no downloads whatsoever. We have all the Hall effect features we are used to. We have RGB controls, remapping, and they also do have this kind of a community page where people upload their configurations for different games. Now, the small thing I noticed about the web-based software, which I think is kind of buggy, is that we do have a drop-down that allows us to change between English and Chinese, and I was on English, but certain parts of the website just didn't change to English. So that was a little annoying that I did have to Google Translate, but I think hopefully they'll fix it soon enough. But aside from that, the gaming experience was pretty nice. I did play some CS with the Flux 60. I didn't really notice anything of the blue. It just felt like a HE gaming keyboard. It felt responsive, it could hit nice some clips, and yeah. The Zoom64 is basically trying to satisfy everyone with one singular keyboard. The gaming people, the Hall effect people, the custom keyboard people who like the Zoom65. Zoom65 is a little old, so they want to change up to something new. Personally, I think I had a bigger interest in it as a case because I am a Hall effect user. Why does that sound so like?
I am a Hall effect user.
This case is something really special which I don't think we'll see for 60% PCBs for quite a while, unless more people make 60% cases, but for now, I will be using my Wooting 60 PCB on this. So aside from that, we have come to the end of the video. If you're interested in the Zoom64, I'll have it linked down below in the description. For the next 2 months, I do want to mention that I don't think there will be a lot of reviews. I do want to try out some more organic videos, I would say, lesser reviews, maybe a little more about my personal life. This year actually marked the 5th year on YouTube, so maybe I'll do a here's what I learned on YouTube after 5 years, maybe give some tips to creators who want to make tech content. I don't really do tech, I mean, it's kind of tech, but aside from that, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.